friends, welcome once again. So today we are watching the video and it says top 8 reasons why India will solve overpopulation. Wow. So really interesting topic, and let's see what 8 reasons they are going to give us why India will solve overpopulation. But yes friends, before we go ahead and watch this video, if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon so that you get notification of all the videos that we upload as soon as we upload them. And after watching the video, if you like it, click the like button and share it with your friends and family. So okay friends, let's go ahead and watch this video.
Right. And I think the bigger, better video would be, top 8 ways India will solve overpopulation.
Oh,
Because we would like to somebody to really, brainstorm and come up with ideas how they can solve the overpopulation. Not that what are the top 8 reasons are. Yeah, sure, there are a lot of reasons why, we should solve overpopulation, but how to solve, I think, is a bigger question that should be,
addressed.
addressed.
Yeah,
The
but we
answer should
don't
be
know.
found
We
in
don't know.
that.
Maybe he meant ways.
Oh.
Or I don't know. I mean, it could be. I mean, they might be also discussing ways. We don't know.
Okay.
So I have no clue. I'm just wondering because why will be able to, or how? Maybe both the questions are answered.
Right.
So let's go ahead and watch this video and see what it has to tell us.
Top 8 reasons why India is not overpopulated.
Oh,
As people often say, India cannot become one of the most powerful nations in the world. India cannot sustain its development, and India cannot escape from poverty because it's too overpopulated, and it should first bring down its population growth. Let me get this straight so that I have made crystal clear what my point of view is in this matter. Yes, of course, there are places and regions in India that are too populated, and that leads to serious problems for millions of people. This is the case in so many countries, and India is no exception. But do I think India as a whole nation is overpopulated? And do I think this will prevent India from becoming more wealthy and powerful? No, I don't think so. And I will explain this in great detail in this video. Now, at first glance, the overpopulation argument looks like a fair and credible statement. India is only one country, and it is home to more than 1.3 billion people. That's more than 17% of the world population in one country. But there is much more to it, and the truth is more balanced than these rather generic numbers would suggest. Therefore, I will give you my 8 reasons why India is in fact not overpopulated, and why India will not be stopped in its development because of its large population. Reason number 1, the
these are obvious.
size of the country. Yes, India has a huge population, and yes, the area of India is by far not as large as countries like Russia, Canada and China, and not as large as the USA, Australia and Brazil. But wait, that's it. Those are the 6 largest countries in the world, and they are the only countries in the world that are larger than India. India is the 7th largest country in the world, and with an area of close to 3.3 million square kilometers, India is an extremely large country. It measures 3,000 kilometers from north to south, and 3,000 kilometers from the east to the west. India is so huge, and its landscape is so diverse, that India has numerous climate zones. There is tropical rainforest, desert, and during wintertime, temperatures can drop below 30 degrees Celsius in the Himalayas. The area of India is so large that it was meant to sustain a huge population. Reason number 2, modest population growth. What I often read in the comments of my videos is that India experiences a population explosion, and that India needs to reduce its population growth, otherwise it will collapse. This is simply not true. The population growth in India is in fact very modest, with only 1.1% per year. In the list of fastest growing populations in the world, India is only in spot 110, meaning that 109 countries in the world have a bigger population growth than India. 53 of these countries have a population that grows 2 times faster than India. 7 of these countries even grow more than 3 times faster than India. So there doesn't seem to be much reason to lecture India about its population growth, since the population growth in India is relatively low. Then how come there are 1.3 billion Indians? Well, the answer is easy. Look at Europe. At the beginning of the 20th century, Europe was home to 28% of the world population. Today, Europe only has 11% of the world population. Why is that? For the past centuries, European countries continuously have decimated each other's populations during numerous wars. India has not done that because of the peaceful nature of the Indian attitude. India has managed to steadily grow its population. Despite being colonized for many years, it's rather cynical to now blame India for its large population. It's the result of being peaceful. Reason number 3, population density. India is often called overpopulated because of its large population compared to the area size of the country, resulting in a high population density. And this high population density causes people to stay poor, and it is supposed to limit the growth and wealth and modernization. Again, this argument can easily be disputed. First, the people of India are getting richer and richer every year. The population only grows 1% per year, but the Indian economy grows 8% per year, meaning that the average Indian earns more money each and every year. Yes, wealth is not distributed equally in India. A small group of rich people is getting even richer, and a large portion of the population only sees its income grow very slowly. That might be unfair, but it's not a specific problem for India. The rich getting even richer, and the poor people only gradually benefiting from economic growth happens in about every country all over the world, including the USA and many other Western countries. Putting that aside, the population density of India is not extremely high. It is 364 people per square kilometer, meaning that India is only the number 33 on the list of countries with the highest population density. Then some people say that all the other countries with a higher population density than India are only very small countries who have a large hinterland from neighboring countries that gives the population the opportunity to use resources and space from nearby foreign countries. That is not true. South Korea, for example, has a population density of 487 people per square kilometer, much higher than in India. And South Korea is home to almost 50 million people. That is not a small population. South Korea is practically an island. It is surrounded by the ocean on 3 sides, and in the north it borders its arch rival, North Korea. So South Korea cannot benefit from nearby countries with more space and resources. But that didn't hurt South Korea, because it's one of the strongest and most modern economies in the world. South Korea shows that countries with a high population density can be very wealthy and strong. Even higher on the list is Bangladesh. Sure, Bangladesh is a country with problems. Too many people live in poverty. But just like India, Bangladesh is developing in an amazing rate with an economic growth of 7% this year. And look at the population density of Bangladesh. 1,118 people per square kilometer, 3 times higher than India. And does it stop Bangladesh from growing its economy? No, as it appears, an extremely high population density apparently is no obstacle for choosing the path of growth and development. Now, Bangladesh might be an extreme when it comes to population density, but let's look at another large country that has about the same population density as India. There is a country with a large population of close to 130 million people and a population density of 337 people per square kilometer,
Which
almost
is?
as high as in India. It's a country with only
Singapore.
little resources, and it's surrounded by oceans. So this country has no opportunity
Malaysia.
to benefit from the resources or
Indonesia.
land of surrounding countries. That country is Japan.
Ah,
The
Japan.
third largest economy in the
Japan
world.
is also very small.
One of the richest and most developed nations in the world. So, is a high population density an obstacle for India to develop and lift its population from poverty? No, that is not an obstacle. Reason number 4, the distribution of the population. Most countries have their population distributed very unevenly. There are specific areas where people are packed together with thousands or millions, and there are areas that are relatively empty and quiet, suitable for agriculture and recreation, and that offer opportunities for nature to develop. Many countries even have areas that are close to uninhabitable, like deserts, mountains, or remote islands. This is also the case with practically all countries with large populations, like China, the USA, Japan, Indonesia, and also India. This means that the burden that comes with a high population density is only felt in relatively small areas and not in the entire nation. In most countries, it's mainly the coastal regions that experience the highest population density. But as wealth is growing, these areas adapt to the situation. These areas build more roads, more tunnels and bridges. They build more facilities like hospitals, schools and shopping malls. Their urban planning becomes more efficient. Their digital infrastructure more advanced. All of the modernized regions in Japan, Europe and America, with an extremely high population density, are not the most uninhabitable places. Instead, they are often the most livable and most desirable places. On paper, places like London, New York City and Tokyo are completely unlivable because of their extreme population density. But in reality, the opposite is true. These are extremely desirable places where everybody wants to live. The same applies to cities like Singapore, Dubai, Kuala Lumpur, Seoul, and Shanghai. These places all have a ridiculously high population density, and at the same time they are so wealthy and attractive that everybody wants to live there. In India, it's gonna be just the same. There are some ultra-dense areas in the north and in the south. In the middle, there are vast open spaces with enough room for people to retreat and enough space for nature to flourish. The big Indian cities are now rapidly developing and transforming from pinnacles of poverty into modern and desirable mega cities. Is this process completed? No. Will it take 20 years before Mumbai will be as attractive as Shanghai
I
and
hope
Singapore?
not.
Probably. But will it happen? Yes,
Yes.
it will. A high population density has never been an obstacle for any great nation to develop and to escape from poverty. India will succeed in this too. Reason number 5, expansion of the land. I often hear people say that India is locked in between oceans in the south and mountains in the north. Therefore, India cannot expand its area. If the population of India will grow any further, the limits of the population density will be crossed. I hear this a lot, and I consider it as totally untrue. Let's assume for a moment that India's population density is at some sort of critical point, and that it can no longer grow without enlarging its area. Let's assume that for a moment. Well, India indeed is mostly surrounded by oceans. India has a coastline of 7,500 kilometers. Is that an obstacle to expand the size of the country? Not at all. Instead, it offers the perfect opportunity to enlarge the size of the country in areas where more space is needed. This is how my country has been dealing with land shortage for
Vertical that you were saying?
My country,
No,
the Netherlands,
artificial.
is internationally known
Artificial.
for building land in the sea. For centuries, we've replaced water, mud, and swamps with usable land for recreation, agriculture, and cities. Half of my country once was an uninhabitable swamp, plagued by the tidal forces of the North Sea. That same swamp now offers schools, offices, shops, and homes to millions of people.
Wow.
India has done the same kind of projects. For example, in Mumbai, yes, centuries ago, the southern part of Mumbai was not a single landmass. It consisted of 7 islands, battered by the forces of the ocean. The water in between these islands has transformed into land, offering homes for millions of people. So, is a high population density a problem for India because it cannot expand its landmass? No. In fact, India can expand its landmass if necessary, and India has done so in the past. Reason number 6, high-rise buildings. Throughout history, India has been a country of low-rise buildings. Even today, most Indians live in buildings that only consist of a few floors. But that's changing rapidly. India is experiencing a true building boom of skyscrapers. I have made an entire video about that. And many people, even some people who are actually from India, were surprised by this massive development. In the Mumbai area alone, hundreds of high-rise towers are being built right now. This development is now spreading all over the country, and it will create a much more efficient use of space in all of the major cities of India, making the high population density much more bearable. Reason number 7, the digital revolution. India is a giant in rapid development. Like so many countries, India has entered the era of the digital revolution. All over India, smart cities are being built. These smart cities have a much more efficient use of space and resources than traditional cities. This development has only just begun and can change the entire concept of how we use space. It can even change the whole concept of overpopulation. What does it still matter if millions of people live in a small area, if there is no more need for them to jump into cars during rush hour? What does overpopulation still mean if the digital revolution would make rush hours and traffic jams disappear? What does overpopulation mean if Indian cities become so wealthy that sewage, waste disposal, fresh drinking water, electricity, and internet connections are available to all? Reason number 8, patience and tolerance. Okay, let's assume for a moment that the whole Indian nation is overpopulated to a degree that it's very hard to create and sustain basic facilities. Basically a situation as we still can see in the poorer parts of today's India. Yes, in some countries, a high population density leads to complete gridlock, and some leaders and regimes have a history of applying violence and seeking confrontation, how would people who have seen their own leaders set the example of war and oppression for all of their lives, how would these people respond to the possible tension and problems that arise with overpopulation? The answer should worry some of the nations who have a history of violence and at the same time a massively growing population. Okay, so if we could find one large nation in this world that has a deep and profound philosophy of peace and respect, that has a history of non-violent resistance against oppressors, that would be the first country to be able to deal with the issues of overpopulation, wouldn't you think? What country on earth could meet that qualification?
India.
Of course, India. My conclusion is, yes, India has a huge population. And yes, some areas in India have a very high population density. And in some cases that leads to serious problems. But can India handle the situation? Yes, it can, and it will.
So friends, this was a long video, but it was very informative. And there were some things that I wasn't aware of, and that this video opened my eyes to it. And I'm so glad the way he, said why India will solve overpopulation. And then he came to the topic that India is not overpopulated. And then he gave 8 reasons. So amazing video, really loved watching it. Very informative. And that, clarifies or clears the wrong conception or the misconception that most of us, no matter who, even Indians, we as Indians also have, that we are overpopulated and we need to resolve this problem, otherwise we will never grow. And giving fantastic examples of other countries which are more populated than us and have achieved so much, and they've compared India's population and said it's similar to Japan. So if Japan can do it with that kind of population, then so can India. So amazing video. I loved watching it and I wish I had watched this before earlier.
Right. So I think this is a great video, and I was thinking that he is going to tell us the reasons how India is going to remove overpopulation, but he came up with the idea that India is not overpopulated. Now, again, this is somebody's opinion and very well, argued and very well debated, not argued, very well debated these points. And I'm sure other people there are other points to say. There were some things where he said, right, everybody wants to go to big cities and New York. That is not necessarily true. It is not everybody wants to go to New York, where if you start from your, the downtown is very costly. And if you have a humble salary, then you have to stay far away. You have to go in the train to your office. You have to come back. A lot of time is being spent in the commute. But in a smaller city, you can live near a office. A lot of time is saved. So extremes are normally not a great thing, but having a balance in life is the best thing. So no extreme. Very small cities not good, very big cities not good. Somewhere in the middle is a right balance where you can do a good use of your time. So this was a very good video, and some of the debating points, the points were right, that yes, everybody knows the density of India is not that high, but the density of other countries like Bangladesh is higher, or smaller countries like Japan, South Korea, Singapore, their density is pretty high. The density, and that is what his main argument was, or main reason was, that you have Japan, that is a small land, so many people, high density, but they have been successful. Yes, but does it mean that so much population is a good thing? Not necessarily. Yes, that is true. Japan is. The question is not that whether India will grow or not. India will grow either way. That is not the question. India will grow either way. India will do great things either way. The more people they are, there is always some advantage to having a lot of people also. But is that a good thing is the question, right? If you go and live in Japan, do you like it? Where there is so much traffic, where you have to live in small homes, you have to live on the 15th or 30th, 40th floor. If there is any emergency, you have to come down and you get blocked. And where for any place you go, there's a lot it takes a lot of time to do anything just because too many population. Yes, you may have the money, but is Japan cheap? No, it is pretty costly. Tokyo is probably one of the costliest city on earth. So is that good? Right? So that is what. So they are growing. Yes, India will also grow, but for a normal human being, would you like to stay in a place that is super populated? You go to, for example, a McDonald's and there's a line, or you can't go in and you can't sit. So people have to look at that condition which is beneficial for doing normal things in life. If you go to a restaurant, you should have some seat where you can sit. If you go to a place, you should have enough parking where you can park. When you're coming back or going to office, it should be fast. You should not waste your time. All the amenities should be there. So I think the answer is somewhere in the middle. And should the population be high? I would say a lot of high population, any extreme is a bad thing. Very less is a problem, very high is a problem. Balance is a good thing. And so some of his points were really nice to think about. But one thing is obvious: India will grow great. India will become a great country. There's no doubt in that.
So friends, we hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll come back again in another video very soon. Till then, take care and bye-bye.
Oh, and if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so it notifies you when I put in my new video for you to enjoy. Bye!